Hey guys, I'm back, and in this video what I want to do is go over how to use a foam roller if you've never used it before, or if you are used to using one. It's going to make sure you're using it properly and safely, and maybe give you a couple things to work on with your foam roller to get the most out of it. So I'm going to skip a lot of the sciencey things and some of the debate around foam rolling and whether it works, whether it helps performance. That's not what we're going to talk about in this video. What we're going to do with this video is we're going to assume that it's helpful and that it feels good. And by helpful, I mean it's going to keep your tissues healthy, your joints healthier, your spine healthier, and you healthier and feeling better. Now, in short, what the idea with the foam roller is we're going to roll over areas of high nervous system activity, so your muscles, and we're going to try to change the nervous system as much as we can using this blunt object. Now, with foam rolling, we're not going to get any advantage by rolling over blood vessels, or rolling on top of bones, or rolling on top of ligaments, or rolling on top of joints. We know from the literature that with stretching and with seeing a chiropractor or with doing foam rolling, most of the changes are going to be mediated through the nervous system. So when we're working on foam rolling, a couple of things. Once you get your foam roller, whether it's a nice soft one or this one's a little bit harder and you can see some edges on it, a couple things we need to know. A, it should never really be sharp or painful. So if you're on top of a bone or on top of a nerve and it's sharp and painful, stop it. You could hurt yourself, don't do it. You want to stay on fleshy parts of the body. That's where it's going to be the most effective. Point number 2 is we want to stay away from any crevices. So nothing in the groin, nothing in the back of the knee, nothing inside the armpit, nothing on the front or the side of the neck. If there's a crevice or a hole, stay away from it. Point number 3 in terms of safety. Generally, intensity-wise, we want to keep things at around a 3 to a 6 out of 10 in intensity. Above a 6, you're probably going to be too tight holding your breath. It's probably not going to be effective. And if it's below that, I just don't know how effective it's going to be if you can barely feel it. So, and then point number 4, which is going to build on point number 3, easy deep breaths are really important. The changes we want to get through the nervous system and through the tissues to keep the soft tissues healthy, which is a huge point of foam rolling, is you got to breathe nice and easy. Also, if you breathe, that pain intensity will drop down, and that will give you a legitimate range of 3 to a 6. Everybody's 3 to 6 is going to be different. That's okay. It's your 3 to 6 that you want to stay within. So, in terms of the foam rolling today, we're going to go over how to foam roll your spine, and then we're also going to go over how to foam roll a lot of different parts of the body and some different areas that you might not think of. And this is a really great way, if you don't want to stretch or you prefer to foam roll, to keep the tissues and the soft tissues healthy, and also make sure that you're getting some joint movement, especially in the spine. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so we're going to go through our foam rolling routine, and before I go through it, I'm going to go over what I want to review is just 3 principles for the foam rolling, or 3 techniques you could think about. And we're going to use all these techniques with most of the parts of the body that we are going to focus on. And so those 3 techniques are either using the foam roller to roll over the soft tissues or roll over the muscle. And then if you find a part that's more sensitive, or that's a trigger point, or that's really, really painful, and we're sure that it's a muscle and not, say, a piece of bone, what we can do in that spot is we can roll back and forth over the sore spot. We can move the muscle underneath or over top of the foam roller. So let's say I was rolling the tricep, I could work on moving the muscle over top of the foam roller. We could also, the third one, if we're not rolling the foam roller or moving the muscle over the roller, is we could just put an excessive amount of pressure or hold pressure on that spot for an amount of time, taking nice easy breaths into our belly until that spot releases, if you will, or gets a little bit softer. And so we're going to start by foam rolling through the spine, working through the muscles and the soft tissues beside the spine, and then eventually along the rib cage underneath the shoulder blade. So we're going to start off And we're gonna have the foam roller here on the low back. Now, we can vary how much pressure we put on the foam roller by how much weight we allow the foam roller to hold. So, if I hold myself up off the foam roller, obviously there's no weight on it. Where'd you go, buddy? And then if I put my body weight down and I sink into the roller, obviously that's going to be more pressure if I take weight off of my hands. So I want to keep that at about a 3 out of 6. And to foam roll the lowest part of the low back, you can find the dimples or those bony parts on the pelvis. Make sure the roller starts there. And then you're going to have a little bit of an angle through the body here. Now, I don't find foam rolling the low back to be that effective. If you do, that's fantastic. I usually start moving up pretty quickly towards the low back, towards the upper part of the low back at the base of the rib cage. And for me, this is where I find I get some more tight spots, maybe from being hunched over on the bike. For you, it could be from being hunched over at your chair. And right now, this is quite sensitive for me. So I'm just gonna hang out here for a second. I can arch back a little bit over it. That's a little bit too much pain, a little bit too much pressure. I'm going to work through it until that intensity drops down. Okay, better. And so I can start to roll towards the base of the rib cage here, and you'll notice that I've taken some pressure off of the floor, and I'm just using my body weight to roll back and forth along the back by my socks. There we go, better grip. So I'm rolling back and forth, nice and slow, nice and easy, slowly waking my way up. And when I hit the base of the shoulder blades, this is typically where I'll throw in some extension maneuvers, going up vertebra by vertebra, arching backwards. And what's beautiful about this is it's going to use a movement or a motion, that arching backwards, that we don't get a lot of in our average day. And this is going to help mobilize the spine and also work on the muscles between the spine and the foam roller. And as you can see, my hand is interlocked behind my neck as I get a bit higher, mid-shoulder blade and above, supporting the neck as I arch backwards. Now as I get to the top here, this is where I can cross my arms, get the shoulder blades out of the way, and get right on top of the muscles of the spine. And you'll probably notice that when you're between the shoulder blades, in the area between the shoulder blades, you'll need to give yourself a big hug, get those shoulder blades out of the way so that you can actually get on the soft tissue and the muscles. So if I'm not having any issues with, say, a joint underneath my rib cage, this is where I would go on and foam roll my neck. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to foam roll those tissues underneath the shoulder blade, where sometimes you can have a rib that shifts, or you have like a rib that's out, if you will. And so for that, what we're going to do, we get to the bottom of the rib cage here, big hug, rotate about 15 to 20 degrees. So if you're at 12 o'clock here, I'm going to rotate to about 1 or between 1 and 2 o'clock. And this is where I can get between the spine and between the inside or medial edge of the shoulder blade. And let's say I find that rib joint, I can kind of roll back and forth across it. What's probably going to be better is big breath in and all the way out. And then when that irritation or that pain, that tightness starts to dissipate, you can work around it a little bit more and go through the rest of the shoulder blade area. Okay, so moving on to the neck. For foam rolling the neck, what I typically like to do is start off by just having my neck sit on the foam roller for a good 30 seconds to a minute. Nice easy breaths into the belly, and then the chest is quiet as the belly comes up and down. After I've spent some time on the neck, I'm going to roll back and forth. And this is a good way to scan and to look for any tissues that are a little bit more tense or tight or soft. And so if you happen to scan and say, like me, find a little bit more tension here on the left side, I'm just going to rotate back and forth a little bit. I'm going to roll just a little bit there on that tissue, a little bit off to the left-hand side, and that is going to help just even things out, get a little bit more symmetry, work through any tension or any tissue adhesions or whatever we're going to call it here on the left side. For me, a little bit more than the right. So as that starts to equalize, yep, that's the same left and right. That's a good indication to move on. I'm going to move, so I do a bit of a chin tuck, and then with that chin tuck, I put the foam roller here on the base of the skull. And so I don't have my chin out, I have it tucked in like I'm giving myself a double chin, and then I'm going to hang out here again for 30 seconds, nice easy breaths in and out. And after I've done that, I'm going to start rolling back and forth along the roller. If it slides, you can hold it in place. Scanning for any areas that are a little bit more taut or tight or tense. And if you don't find any, that's great, you can move on. But let's say you do, let's say the suboccipital muscles here on the base of the skull are a little bit more tender on the right. I can roll a little bit through here. I can push down into the roller for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Or I can roll my head on the roller a little bit back and forth. And you see, it's the same variation of all of the same techniques of either putting more pressure down, holding it with breaths, or rolling the roller over the spot, or rolling the body part over the spot. Those three variations are going to work through a lot of the different problems. So that's how you foam roll your spine. And next we're going to roll different parts of the body. I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker, show you how to do it, and then you can do it by yourself. So we're going to roll the arms and the legs as much as I think is reasonable. So we're going to start off, and I'll show you how to roll your calves. So with the calf, I'll preface everything. With the calf, with the leg, with whatever body part, if you have a large surface area, so the quadriceps, you have 4 muscles, the calf, you have a big calf muscle that takes up a large surface area, the hamstrings, you have 3. With all of these areas, we want to make sure that we're getting as much of the soft tissues as we can. So with the calf, we can roll from the Achilles tendon all the way to the base of the knee on the inside, the middle, and the outside. And with all the body parts in the body, just like the spine, we're scanning for different areas that could be problematic. So for me, as I scan the right calf, I'm not finding anything that's problematic. I'll check the left side here. So the left. So I found a spot right here, and I'm going to roll through it. Actually, that's fairly gnarly. I'm going to take a big breath. I'm going to roll a little bit in this area. So this would probably be from my soleus, I'm going to guess, a little bit lower through the calf here on the left side. And as that releases or relaxes or starts to feel better and we get more symmetry, that's when I can move on to the other side. Okay, so now I'm on the inside, so we can consider the calf being rolled. Now, what we can do with the legs is we can also roll the everters on the side of the leg. But before I do, I should say, especially with the calf, you can modify the amount of pressure, just like with everything else, by keeping all of your body weight on the ground, by lifting your body up off the ground, holding the weight on your hands, or you can even put your leg on the foam roller, or both legs on the foam roller, and this will really intensify the rolling. So there's always some progressions that we can add to it. To roll the outside or the everters, really simple, you can have all your body weight down on the ground, going basically from the lower 1/3 of the leg up into these bones, the fibularis, or the fibula bone and the head of the fibula on the side. As long as you're on soft tissue and you're not on bone, it's okay. With this, I actually prefer to stretch these muscles, but what you can do when you're rolling is you can also point your toe up and away. Again, you can put all your body weight if you wanted to, but this feels absolutely horrific. So I would not recommend that. If you can tolerate it, it probably reflects that those tissues are really, really healthy. So you can also roll the tibialis anterior or the anterior dorsiflexors here on the front of the leg. For this, if you put all your weight, again, means either tissues are really healthy or you are very, very pain tolerant. For me, I would likely just roll like this with all of my body weight supported by my hand and my knee. And then this one again, you can get pretty aggressive with it because there's not too much bone or soft tissue that you need to be overly concerned about into the front of the leg, as long as you find the bone here right in the front, the shin bone, the tibia, and you stay outside of it. So if you're outside, you're good. As we move up through the quads and the hamstrings and the adductors, fairly simple. Hamstrings again, I'm going to go through this a little quicker. We want to make sure we hit the inside or the medial hamstrings, the middle hamstrings, and then the outer hamstrings. Now, you can also check out a video that I will link here where it talks about why we do not roll our IT band. It's because it's pretty much useless. You want to roll the glutes or the muscles that attach to it. But you might find that as you get towards the IT band here on the outside, you find some spots between, or in the interface between the quads and the IT band that get a little bit more tight and a little bit more sore. That is okay, that interface to roll them, that will be very effective. Alright, so with the hamstrings, we're going to say I've scanned, I didn't find anything, I don't need to roll back and forth, I don't need to put more pressure from my leg up on the hamstring, and I don't need to spend any time holding all my body weight on one spot, which is good. Now, in terms of foam rolling, the quads, we will get there, but we're going to go straight to the glutes. The glutes I typically prefer to stretch. In terms of the gluteus maximus here, you can see us foam roll the gluteus maximus. I'm basically just rolling with a straight leg and a relatively straight body over the glute itself. What I find really effective though is if you cross your leg like a figure four, you can get in through the piriformis and the gluteus medius and gluteus minimus. This is basically rolling from your sit bone to the top of that dimple where we were earlier to find the low back muscles or the start of the low back muscles. We can roll back and forth, we can roll up and down, and then what you're going to find likely really effective is rolling a bit over to the side. And as you roll more to the side, you're going to get through the gluteus minimus, medius. You can put all of your body weight on there. This, for me, I found a really good trigger point or tight spot, if you will. Nice, easy breaths. And what I would work on is rolling all the way over, still in that figure four position onto your side. And this will be a really good spot to get the TFL. So the TFL is the muscle that if you find your hip bone and come a little bit back and a little down, it's right here. It's if you were to put your hand in your pocket, the muscle that's underneath your hand is your TFL. And so this is a great way to move towards the TFL. You can, big breath, find a spot, put all your body weight on it, and then roll, and ooh, that is more than a 6, but it kind of feels good. Ooh. Okay. All right. So of course you would do both sides. I'm just showing one side here for time and simplicity. TFL, gluteus medius, gluteus minimus. I guess if you don't want to have the leg crosser, it's too uncomfortable, you can also attack the gluteus minimus and medius and the muscles here on the side of the hip just straight on your side. You can put all your body weight. And in terms of landmarks, where we are is we're between the hip bone, where the top of the hip bone where your belt would be, and then also the big bone here that sticks out on the side. Anywhere in here, foam rolling, excellent. Now, for the quads, typically what I would like to do is I will start off by three-point stance, hands down, knee down, leg is straight, and I will go all the way from the bottom up to the top, starting at the bottom, and then I'll slowly roll from side to side until I get up towards the top of the leg at the top where the quadriceps insert, and I'm again just scanning for any spots that are overly sore or overly tender. Now, I haven't found any, that's good. So what I would do next, if I haven't found any and the muscle's feeling good, I would flex the knee like this and scan again. And so we're always scanning, looking for any spots that are overly sensitive, overly taut, like this one right here. And then we breathe through it and we work through it until it lessens in intensity. And if you find that it doesn't lessen in intensity, odds are that it might not be a muscle, or it could be where there's actually a nerve bundle. So a good example in this case is the interface between this quadricep here and the adductor muscles, the groin muscles. There's a big nerve set here. If you're in that area, that intensity or that pain is never going to dissipate because you're on a nerve. So back to the quads, we can start low from above the kneecap and work our way all the way up until that TFL again here. So I'd say to adequately roll the quads and the hamstrings, you're probably looking at about 2 to 4 minutes per side, per group. So I went through that obviously a little bit quickly, but that's how you do it. Now, last but not least, foam rolling the upper body. This is where I tend to stretch more than foam roll. I tend to prefer dynamic stretches or static stretches for the pecs, for the biceps, for the forearms. The thing that I do really like to foam roll that I find really effective is the tricep and the lat muscles. So the tricep on the back of the arm and the lat muscle is your big swimmer muscle. So to foam roll this, what we're going to do is we're down on the ground, elbow up like we're going to show where the beach is, and then we roll that tricep like this, keeping it bent. You could also bend it back and forth. You'll probably find that's really, really tight and sore when you do that. Make sure that it's not on a blood vessel or a nerve bundle. And the way to know that is if it's really sharp and searing, or if it doesn't dissipate with putting some pressure and holding it, then it's time to move off of it a little bit. So we roll through that tricep. We're working our way down towards the back of the armpit, which is the lat muscle and the teres muscle and the rotator cuff. And you can also roll a little bit more upwards to get the lat, but I prefer to be right on my side. Sometimes you can also move the arm here, but we're right in the back of the armpit here, right on that lat muscle. We've moved down from the tricep, and I'm just right on the back of the armpit. And because I'm not finding any points of adhesion, oh, there we got one. So I'm just going to roll through this a little bit. And as that starts to dissipate, I can roll a little bit lower onto the rib cage. And for me, after I do the other side, I'd be done. And that's my foam rolling routine. When I do it, I do prefer to stretch and do mobility work. And I don't enjoy the foam roller as much, but I do think it's really, really important and really, really effective for improving this, the soft tissue health of the body. It's also going to desensitize your nervous system, making it less likely to be sore or injured because those nerves are used to having pressure on them. And especially in a time like this when we're not able to get to our massage therapist, this is a really, really good tool to help keep your muscles, nervous system, and the soft tissues of the body healthy. So if you guys want to learn anything else about foam rolling, leave a comment or a question. I'd be happy to answer. And that goes for just about any subject. If there's a video that you want made or you want a question answered, let me know. I'd be happy to do it. Otherwise, I hope you guys are well, stay well, healthy, safe, and I will see you soon.